the thing that will stand between you and your dreams is fear. And so we need to step out of our comfort zone, have the courage to face those fears, and take action in your life. So if there's one thing I could tell you, it's crush comfort and create courage, because the life of your dreams will not be found in your comfort zone. And the sooner you embrace that and start living out at the edges of what's possible for you, the faster you're going to see your life increase in ways you could not even imagine.
Hello, my name is Sabine Kvenberg, founder and host of Become. The content will inspire you to reach your aspirations and become the best version of yourself. I feature interviews with successful individuals from various industries, delving into their personal and professional journeys and their strategies to achieve their goals. We have to become the person we are meant to be first, so we can live the life we are destined to live. That means we must overcome challenges and work through difficult times to learn, grow, and become the new, more fabulous version of ourselves. I'm so glad that you're here. Let's get on this journey together. I had the pleasure of sitting down with the world's best lifestyle engineer, Zach White. If you want to see results in your life, you have to have the courage to step out of your comfort zone and pair that courage with a proven system of success, what he calls lifestyle engineering, and you can accelerate more than just your career. And this is what I talked with Zach about in our interview. Not only is he sharing his story, but you will learn what it takes to have more balance. Welcome, Zach. I'm so happy to have you as my guest today.
Oh, Sabine, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Let's get started by just tell us where you are right now. I think you are somewhere in Michigan. Is that right?
Yeah. You found me sitting in my office, which is in a co-working space here in Southwest Michigan, a small lake town. If you're not from the area, you wouldn't know it, but it's called Benton Harbor, and just a mile from beautiful Lake Michigan. And I was mentioning to you before the recording, Sabine, we're finally feeling some springtime weather, which for Michiganders is a big deal, like putting that cloud cover and cold weather behind us, ready for some sunshine and some lake life. So bring it on.
All right. And here the sun is out, but here in Florida, it is seasonably cold. We are in the 60s, and for end of March, it's pretty cold. So, but I guess it all depends on
That's
what
right. It's all relative.
Right?
67. I can't wait for 67. We're still a month or two away from 67, Sabine.
So, Zach, you are a lifestyle engineering coach now, but you started out as an engineer. So how did you go from engineer solving problems to totally shift lifestyle? So how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, I joke, Sabine, that I'm a mechanical engineer by my degrees, but I'm a lifestyle engineer through the school of hard knocks and life lessons. So my actual background is in mechanical engineering, to your comment. I have my bachelor's from Purdue and my master's from U of M, both in mechanical engineering. And I went into Whirlpool Corporation to build my engineering career with big aspirations and big goals, just like most engineers who come out of college do. Want to make a name for yourself, make an impact, go get those promotions and build a successful career. And in the journey towards that success, I made some big mistakes. And I ended up burning out, finding myself divorced and depressed and disappointed with how my career had gone, but more importantly, how my life fell apart in the process. And it was the recovery from that rock bottom experience where lifestyle engineering was born, asking new questions, finding new ways to succeed that considered my whole life success, not just my career. And very happy to say it worked. I had incredible success after. And that's what then led to me doing this full time as a coach and as a CEO of Oasis of Courage.
Oh, fantastic. But one thing that you said, I think is so oftentimes overlooked, and that is the fact that sometimes we have to hit rock bottom to realize what we really ought to do in this world and what gives us the joy and the freedom to live a happy and fulfilled life. So when you started working and you had all the successes and your career took off, what was it that really made you realize the career is not everything? So what was that darkest time in your life that really made you, shall I say, wake up?
The wake-up call moment in anyone's journey is always, very poignant, easy to remember exactly where I was. And Sabine, I'll tell you the story. In my world at the time, everything was fine. I thought I had it all under control. And I was on a work trip out in Tennessee, working at one of the factories where Whirlpool has a manufacturing facility. And Sabine, I came home from the trip and I was tired. It'd been a long trip, working long hours. And I really hadn't talked to my spouse very much while I was gone. And I was expecting to come home to her being there. And the house was empty. And I walked in and I was confused, thought maybe she went out. I called, she didn't answer. And then I'm walking around the house and I found a note on the table that essentially said, I don't think this is working. I'm ready to get divorced. And that moment for me was the wake-up call. That's when my entire world came crashing down around me. And the truth is, looking back, Sabine, that I was lying to myself about everything being okay. The signs were there long before that moment that things were not going well at home, but I had chosen to ignore it. I had chosen to pretend outwardly that everything was okay. And I just put my focus on the things that were working, and I ignored the things that were not working. And as you can imagine, the tension between that just grows and grows. And eventually, to your point, if you don't do something, you hit rock bottom. And I'll be honest, that was a very, very painful night. I mean, a lot of tears, a lot of heartache, but some powerful things shifted that night in my life. And it began with being honest with myself and being honest with the people who loved me, calling my sister, calling my mom, telling them the truth for the first time, that my life was not what I was pretending it was, and I needed help.
Wow. What you said was so impactful that, number one, we oftentimes choose not to see the signs. We try to avoid and ignore them because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if we do more of those, it becomes even more uncomfortable or even worse. Like in your case, you found your house empty. What I liked, what you just shared, that for the first time, you were honest. You called your parents and your mom, your sister, and really told them as it was. Mm-hmm. Isn't it so true sometimes in family, we hide what's going on, and because we don't want to show our weaknesses, perhaps? So what was that process once you get really raw and honest? What was the process for you as far as getting through it?
Grief comes first. I'll be honest, the first few days or weeks, Sabine, were just kind of messy, very messy. A lot of tears, a lot of confusion. But the relief of telling the truth the way I did gave me enough weight off of my shoulders to take a next step. And for me, beyond just talking to the people I love, that was going to see a counselor, getting on the calendar, going and working with a professional therapist and saying, hey, this is happening. I need help. I'm in a lot of pain, and the grief is real. And you go through these stages of suffering and grief. And that was very real to me. It was very, physically painful, emotionally painful, spiritually painful to go through. But I think the most important thing was the willingness to sit in that place, to just allow the pain to be present. And that's something that I was dodging, to your point earlier, Sabine, like pretending that it wasn't there for so long. There was a lot of built up negative energy in my life that needed to be let go. And so that was the first stage, was just a willingness to let my life be a mess for a while and acknowledge that I wasn't as, well put together as everybody thought I was. But from there, after you're in that kind of trough place, your face is grinding against the floor of rock bottom, as it were, right? Then you stand up and you start to just put one foot in front of the other. And what I tell everybody who I've coached who's gone through any form of burnout or suffering or a rock bottom experience like this, or if you're going through it right now, you have to bring the time horizon in a little bit. We're not going to solve the whole thing in one move. We're not going to go create the perfect life in one day. Let's zoom way in. I like to call it drawing smaller circles. Rather than solving for the big equation, let's just solve for this afternoon. What are we going to do this afternoon to make sure it's a little bit better than yesterday, to make sure we're not going back to those same patterns or habits that got us stuck in the first place, and put one foot in front of the other. And as we build momentum, we can begin to extend that time horizon again and think about bigger goals and longer term dreams again, entering into a new relationship again, in my case, all of those things. But at the start, let's just focus on the moment in front of us, right? What's the next thing we need to do? And drawing those smaller circles and prioritizing a shorter time horizon, because it's so overwhelming. We don't have the cognitive ability to go think about these longer term things. So that's my most important lesson from that time, was like, when you're really under pressure, when you're really overwhelmed, or if your life is completely confusing and falling apart, let's just zoom way in. You don't need to solve everything. Let's just get today buttoned up the best we can, make the best next decision, and then we can come back to tomorrow.
It's so true. Couple things that I got out of what you just shared. Number one, the willingness to sit and let it pass, and also recognize our grief, our suffering, and not just chuffing it away, because if we don't let it out, it just fester and make us perhaps bitter or whatnot, right? So just going through that process is a resolving process and resolving journey. And then you were able to move forward again. And what you did, you got help. And we all need help at one point or another in certain situations.
May is Stroke Awareness Month. Lifeline screening can help detect someone's risk of having a stroke or cardiovascular disease. Each year, more than 700,000 people attend one of those screenings for peace of mind or early detection. And I am one of them. You see, my mother passed away from cardiovascular disease, and I want to do everything I can to feel safe. So join me and schedule your screening today. To book your appointment, simply click the link in my show notes. Have you ever tried to build your own website, start a newsletter, or build a course and charge for it? Have you ever wanted to make money online but are totally confused by all the different systems you need to have? That's why I use Kajabi. You can build your web pages, blogs, and membership sites. You can create offers, checkout pages, and collect money. You can host your videos. You can start your newsletter list, capture emails, start your marketing funnels, all in one place. It makes it fun and easy with awesome tutorials and support. Since I've joined Kajabi from the beginning, I have a special affiliate link that I would like to share with you. A 30-day free trial. So nothing to lose, but everything to gain. Just go to my link that's in the show notes, sabinekvenberg.com/resources, and we will redirect you to the free trial page. And if you are just starting out and want to get your offer out for sale in just 3 days, let me help you do that. Visit my webpage, by the way, that I built on Kajabi, and apply to making it happen. Now let's get back to the show.
So after you went through that grieving process, and another thing that I liked what you're saying, taking one step at a time, because that's another thing I believe a lot of people think, oh, they have to resolve everything, either in their personal life or even in business venture. If you have to go through a very challenging situation, sometimes, no, you cannot go from A to Z in one step. You have to take steps in between. And those little steps, when was your decision to actually make changes in your life after you got through that grieving process that really led you to become the lifestyle engineer that you are today?
Yeah. Sabine, there was a point, and I wish I could pinpoint exactly when, but I really can't. It's something that came gradually through the healing journey, where I realized that the passion and the ambition inside of me to be successful in my career, to make an impact with my life and in the world through engineering and through, the great mind that God had given me and the skills that I had, and that was still inside me. Going through burnout and divorce and depression did not eliminate something that was born inside me and my purpose for life. And I still had that fire there to do something. But right next to the fire for achievement was this fear of going through something like I had gone through already. It's like, there must be a different way to go achieve something meaningful with my life, but not suffer like this. And it was that moment where I said, okay, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm unwilling to do nothing. I would rather keep going and try again and fail again than do nothing. I'm more afraid of getting to the end of my life with regrets than I am afraid of failing again. And so that's when I hired my first coach. I had worked with a therapist on the grief and this idea of recovery and healing, but I knew from other people who I had as mentors and people I respected that coaching was a powerful catalyst to forward progress and change and making results happen in your life. So I hired a coach and I presented them with this challenge. I said, hey, I want success, but I don't want to go through this again. There must be another way. I need help. And I began working with a coach, and the rest is history in a way. I went on to 5 promotions in 5 years. I doubled my income. I had an incredibly fun time working less hours than I ever had before. And along the way, I captured all these lessons and really distilled it down for the engineering mind, because as an engineer, we think a bit differently, we approach the world a bit differently, and that became the lifestyle engineering blueprint that we now coach our clients in. But it was honestly just learning as I went how to do this in a different way.
Yeah. And as you said, as we experience, as we learn, we can implement and teach it to others. So how do engineers learn differently? And what's the difference between the engineering mind and everybody else's mind?
Oh, we don't have enough time on this podcast to talk about all of the differences. If you are an engineer, you already understand and appreciate some of this. And most people know at least one engineer, and you can point to some of the stereotypes that are common. So let's just be honest about what these things are. For one, generally speaking, we'll paint with broad brushes here, more introverted, more shy. Generally speaking, they see the world in a black and white way. And I'll include myself in this. I used to be this way because we're trained to go find the right answer. And mathematics and science and most of the schooling that we go through is all rooted in learning the principles and applying them to problems in a way that finds the solution. And we end up in this very narrow approach to living where everything has a solution. And often it's one right answer. Then we come out of college and go into our careers, and it's hard enough to face the reality that there's more than one way to design something or to solve the problem. Then you add on the complexity of all the emotional and social intelligence required to work on these complex cross-disciplinary teams. And it really can be overwhelming for a lot of engineers to adapt to that. On top of that, let's put even one more layer. The engineering mind is trained to go find everything that can break, everything that can go wrong, all the points of failure in every system. That's what we get paid to do. And we want to take everything to a point of failure in life. It's like, this is the way we think in terms of design. Well, anybody who's in psychology or cognitive behavioral therapy or coaching will tell you, if the thing that you focus on constantly is the negative side, if all you're looking for are points of failure and what can go wrong, that's what you're going to continue to get more of and create, especially in your relationships. And people get frustrated at engineers for always, shutting down their ideas or telling them how things can go wrong or not. Well, let's forgive them in a way, because it's the only thing we're taught. And that creates a lot of problems in our relationships and in our lives, as well as in your career development. So that's just naming a couple of obvious ones, Sabine. There's more, but we need to adapt the way we think about career growth and then lifestyle design, this idea of balancing the rest of our lives in the context of those challenges. How do we overcome that in a way that engineers can wrap their heads around, which means systematically, in a logical way, in a way that's going to align with their strengths. Not just go tell an engineer, hey, stop being like an engineer. That doesn't work. You can't just tell somebody to stop being themselves.
No, that's so true. And I really admire that you tackle that from that perspective, being an engineer. I mean, our two worlds can't be any more far apart because I'm on the total other spectrum. I'm a creator. I'm a performer. I'm just like,
yes.
Hey, show me the world, right? And math was never my strong point. I am not getting satisfaction with solving problems. I mean, I do, right? But you know what I'm saying?
It's different. It's
just different, right? But as you said, there are engineers in this world. And even if you're not an engineer, you might be an introvert. You might be a problem solver. That's your mentality. That's your personality. And those people are probably looking for a coach like you who can approach it from that angle. So I like that.
Yeah, you're right. It's not unique to engineers. That's just a group that I really resonate with. But for example, we have a client in our program right now who works in sales, but her mindset is an analytical one. And she has some of these same qualities in her approach and her background. And you would think sales, how is it possible to be an introvert and succeed in sales? Well, you'd be amazed. It's not uncommon for someone to end up in a place where they are constantly having to face some limitations where their personality doesn't serve them in their role. And this is an example where someone says, okay, I really need to overcome these things in order to be successful, even more so than an engineer might. And so, there's a lot of people who connect with this approach who may not be in STEM professions.
And you also have a podcast called the Happy Engineer Podcast. So tell us about that podcast. Who are your guests and what you're trying to achieve with it?
Well, the Happy Engineer was named that because at the end of the day, if you get big success in your titles and promotions and paychecks, but you hate your life, then we have not succeeded yet. So I really believe, Sabine, what we're all looking for here is to love the journey towards our dream and our vision. So the Happy Engineer is an entire series of conversations around that idea. How do I build my career to the level that I want, whether that's CTO or just senior engineer, it doesn't matter, but also balance what I love in the rest of my life, to honor the time I want with my family, to take care of my health, to really look at myself as a whole person and not become a victim to some of the cultural challenges of especially big organizations where the pressure to deliver can be so high. And engineers are stressed out. Engineers are struggling with dealing with all these demands, especially when you add a spouse and some kids and a mortgage and all these other challenges of living life. So the Happy Engineer podcast brings guests from engineering, folks who've succeeded at this and are living on the other side of the lessons learned, as well as people from these other disciplines who can help us to address areas where we're not strong. Health coaches or mindset coaches, people who can really dig into the areas that an engineer may not explore very often on their own, because we tend to be drawn to the sciences and we love to listen to tech speak and that kind of thing. So it's a very well-rounded set of conversations because I really do believe we want to be well-rounded in our success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I go onto podcasts with the wisdom that I can contribute to the audiences. And, it's all about that balance, right? And when we're open to listen to the other person or to the other quote unquote side, just in general, it is very important to be open. Otherwise, we are getting so narrow-minded, so almost like the horses with those, what you call it, the side.
The blinders. Yeah.
The blinders, exactly. And you see it in all areas, of personal and work-related politics. Oh my goodness. If we are not open to listen to others, then we can get really, really stuck.
No doubt.
So yeah.
Well, and you are a great role model of this, Sabine. I mean, I love your content. I actually just listened to episode 41 of Become with Brendan Kumarasamy. He was on my podcast as well. And just the power of those conversations and the idea of becoming, what this whole show is about. It begins with that openness. If you don't lean into a growth mindset and an open, coachable spirit, then you're going to miss that opportunity to become the best version of yourself. So I think there's no one better to talk about this than you.
Oh, good. So, well, maybe can tell something to your listeners as well and contribute to your listeners. I would love to. But, we are out of time. Oh, my goodness. I always like having wonderful conversations. I could go on forever and ever. So if people want to get in touch with you, what would be the best way?
Thank you, Sabine. And for what it's worth, I agree. We could go all day. I understand why Joe Rogan and some of these other podcasters have 3 and 4 hour long episodes, because it's so fun to have these chats. You mentioned the Happy Engineer podcast already. And if someone out there is listening who wants to hear more from me or get deeper into lifestyle engineering, just wherever you're listening to Become, jump over and give a follow to The Happy Engineer. You'll find us on all the platforms. But if this really resonates for you, maybe you are an engineer or you know one who really needs help with this and is looking for support to build their career and get to the next level, it would be an absolute honor to give you a free coaching session and share with you what we do and how we support people and see if it's a fit to work together. So if that's you, then grab your phone and send a text message right now, the word lifestyle. The word lifestyle, send that to 55444. It's one of those short codes, really simple, lifestyle to 55444. We'll send you the information to get on our calendar. And if it's a fit, we'll get you a free session with me and provide as much value as we can. So it'd be an honor to do that for your listeners, Sabine.
Oh, fantastic. And I'll make sure to have that information in our show notes as well. So if there would be one piece of advice that you would give not only engineers, but just in general, maybe a quote or something like that, what would that be?
The thing that will stand between you and your dreams is fear. And so we need to step out of our comfort zone, have the courage to face those fears and take action in your life. So if there's one thing I could tell you, it's crush comfort and create courage, because the life of your dreams will not be found in your comfort zone. And the sooner you embrace that and start living out at the edges of what's possible for you, the faster you're going to see your life increase in ways you could not even imagine. So crush comfort and create courage. That's a decision you'll never regret.
Thank you so much. That was just a perfect ending for this podcast. And I wish you all the best. And I look forward having another conversation.
Thank you so much, Sabine. You're amazing. I appreciate the invitation, and blessings to you and your amazing audience. It's been a pleasure.
That was my interview. And if you enjoyed it, give us a 5-star review, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. Thanks for listening. Until I see you again, always remember, serve from the heart, follow your passion, and live the life you imagine.